Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is March 7th, and today we're going to take a look at this system you can see on the infrared satellite moving down through the Gulf of Alaska, southeast Alaska, and down into the Pacific Northwest tonight, tomorrow, and it'll make its way through the region on Wednesday. We'll take a look on the extended here too as we look to move into a more warmer, wetter, and possibly windier pattern for the Pacific Northwest as we start to get some systems coming off the Pacific Ocean and into our region. You can see the ridge has really been built over here in the eastern Pacific Ocean, shunting these storms all the way up towards Alaska, and that's what's allowing this energy to drop down on the east side of this high pressure ridge and bring us this chilly system. We're going to get some chilly overnight lows through even portions of western Washington and Oregon. Not much snow for the lowlands at all, but we will get some snow for the mountainous areas. And this storm is really going to take aim at the Rocky Mountains of Montana, Wyoming, and portions of Idaho. There's some winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories through that region for some potentially heavy snow for the higher elevations. So checking out the visible satellite across the region right now, you can see the low clouds didn't quite burn off for some of the areas of the Puget Sound, the southern flank of the Olympic Mountains here. And now you see the high clouds streaming in the region in the advance of the next system moving our way. You can see these clouds don't seem to be moving much, and that's what we call altocumulus standing lenticular. These clouds are hitting the terrain, being forced upwards and condensing, and they just kind of seem to form there like maybe a rock in a river with the water flowing over the top of that, the terrain feature there. And you can see these wave cloud action going on for northeast Washington there too. So checking out across the rest of the country, there's some severe thunderstorm watches and warnings for the northeast there. So if you have any concerns, you're traveling out to the northeast, watch out for that. That should be pushing off by tomorrow though. And you can see those winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings for portions of Yellowstone, Montana, Idaho. And you can see North Dakota getting on the action a little bit there too. Winter weather advisory, very active weather for the Dakotas there. And here we go for the Northern Rockies on Montana into Idaho down towards Yellowstone as well. There's some winter storm warnings out there. So heads up if you guys are traveling out there or you have any concerns out in the Montana area. There's some pretty heavy snowfall probably coming with this. You can see they're talking about the flash freeze is going to occur this evening. Slow morning commute on Tuesday. A lot of snow falling out there, especially in the higher terrain. Now checking for the Pacific Northwest here. This is total snow. This is the NAM 3cam high resolution model. You can see how the snow really piles up here through tomorrow morning for portions of Montana, mainly the Yellowstone, eastern Idaho getting in on it. And then we get central Idaho starts getting the snowfall as the system really starts coming through here. Northeast Oregon's going to get a pretty good dose of snow out of this. You can see the Cascades of Washington, Oregon piling it up pretty good there. Maybe even a little bit of lower elevation. So in eastern Washington, probably not down towards the Tri-Cities areas, but maybe I-90 will start to get a little bit of snowfall accumulation on into Tuesday evening, mainly during the day. Actually, Tuesday morning it would start and then go on into Tuesday afternoon. So we keep moving ahead here. And this is the NAM 3KM. This is just showing you the general trough here. You can see the Arctic high building up over central BC here, and you can see the lowest pressure here tends to be down over Idaho and down towards Yellowstone, Wyoming. That's where the storm is really going to be focused here as we just get some general resultant troughing and some onshore flow, maybe a little bit of Puget Sound convergent zone action, not as strong as it looked a few days ago, but you can see this pretty chilly Arctic air up here is going to seep down over the region as we put this into the extended here on Wednesday morning, then Wednesday afternoon, as this low pressure system sags down through Utah. And you can see the high pressure will remain over us at least through Friday. Then we're going to start getting some Pacific moisture moving our way. We'll take a look at that in some pretty good detail here coming up. And here's the NAM 3K. Just kind of highlighting the precipitation and the timing. You can see it really starts in the Puget Sound generally. Tuesday morning, you can see the snow going through the Cascades. That starts to shift down into Oregon on Wednesday morning and northeast Oregon on Wednesday morning as well. And you can see the snow flying pretty good out there, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. Now, this is the European. It looks pretty similar as far as the timing. Tuesday morning for the Cascades and the Puget Sound lowlands. This is not a very big precipitation maker here, so just light snowfall amounts through the Puget Sound. And you can see that snowfall with the Arctic front coming down here through Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming here on the European. And of course, this shifts down to Wednesday morning, same timing as the NAM 3KM. As you can see, some of this snowfall gets all the way down through Nevada there, maybe even around Vegas in the higher terrain as we go on into Thursday night and a Friday morning. And then you can see the next system kind of offshore there moving in. We'll take a look at that again in some detail. Now, looking at the European snowfall totals, it was painting a little bit better snowfall totals for the Cascades of Washington and Oregon, but there's still going to be some pretty good amounts, up over 8 inches probably in some of the regions there. But you can see really northeast Oregon is going to be the winner, central Idaho, higher terrain, Montana, and look at Wyoming. Yellowstone's going to get a good snowfall out of this. And pretty much all of Wyoming is considered higher terrain, really. So you can see the snowfall move all the way down through the higher terrain of Arizona there too. The Sierras get on the action. And a lot of Nevada gets snow out of this too, but not the big snowmaker that we were hoping for, but still we'll take what we can get at this point. And here we're looking at the GFS. And here we go with that. You can see the trajectory is mostly it's offshore. It doesn't really get out over the water too much. And that's why the precipitation amounts are going to be pretty light for Western Washington, and why the storm is more focusing on Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. And then kind of a transient ridge builds through here. Then the next system you can see opens up over us on Saturday and moves through on Sunday. Another one hot on its heels there going on into Monday night and Tuesday. Another one right behind that is another strong trough digs down over the southwest USA. And then we go on to the future, the GFS. We're getting into fantasy land here, but it does continue. The system's moving on into late March now at this point. And then kind of an interesting storm system this would be, but we're way out in GFS fantasy land here. This would be quite a unique system though here probably though. But that's just entertainment purposes at this point. So here is the GFS. This is what the surface pressures would look like. And you see that very weak troughing with this system as we go through the day Tuesday. It's this Arctic highs building over British Columbia and the Yukon there. Not a very strong gradient, but it's going to be enough to allow some Arctic air to get into our region. And I'll show you guys some of these overnight lows coming up later on this week. And you can see that main low pressure is down here over southeast Idaho and Wyoming. This kind of opens up over the southern portions of the states. And this Arctic air, you can see this Arctic high just extend all the way down to Texas, bring some really chilly temperatures down there. Take a brief look at that, and you can see it spawns a storm system that rides up the east coast here, a very powerful low pressure system. I mean, look at that low, 942 millibars, really intense system. So we'll see how that pans out. We're getting a little bit far out here, 144 hours there. But you can see these systems start to move through here. Here comes the one on Thursday night up here. Friday morning moves through British Columbia here. And then you'll see the system kind of develop a late breaking wave developing on the Puget Sound here. And that's worth watching just because sometimes these guys can get a little bit more powerful and cast kind of a tight pressure gradient on the south side of the storm. But this version of the GFS here is a pretty weak storm. But you can see another powerful low out of the Gulf of Alaska here, spawning fronts that would pass over the Pacific Northwest and bring quite a bit of precipitation, some mountain snow, and some valley rain. And we go into the future, kind of a transient ridge there, but it looks like it builds. And then we get on into fantasy land of the GFS. Not really worth looking at this point. And this is that Arctic air wanted to show you here. Check out some of these temperatures. Some places in Texas might be 20 degrees below normal. This is temperature anomaly Celsius. So very chilly temperatures coming across the central portions of the USA. And then a storm is probably going to ride this cold air up the east coast on into early next week. So that's something to watch. Probably hear get some good headlines out of that one in the future. So now let's look at the Canadian model here. You can see our weak troughing from the system coming through tomorrow. And again, it shows that low pressure, good agreement there for southeast Idaho and Wyoming. Now Arctic high kind of settles over the region, bringing some chilly nights for western Washington, Oregon, and pretty cold nights for eastern portions of the state and British Columbia, higher terrain. As we put this into motion here, you can see the system that's developing offshore Saturday that moves through British Columbia. Another one right on its heels brings another frontal system through the Pacific Northwest. And then a high builds for a bit, but then you start to get some more zonal flow, and this could easily turn out to be more of a frontal system close to the Pacific Northwest here. But we're pretty far out. This is 10 days out, not worth getting caught up on. Now here's the European, the control ensemble run here. As we look into, here goes the storm system here, first of all. And then as this digs its trough out of the southwest and comes up the east coast, probably in a strong storm, here comes our system on Friday night into Saturday. You can see this kind of going right through western Washington. This would be a fairly windy scenario. You probably get some gusts in the 40s for Seattle and Portland on this. some mountain snows and some lowland rain. Transient ridge moves through. We get another system going through on Tuesday night, Monday morning, and yet another system would be rolling through Wednesday night. Another transient ridge is a big, big trough digs out over the Pacific Ocean here. But again, we're getting into fantasy land here. But that is a little bit similar to what the GFS was showing at this range. So maybe the models are onto something. Maybe this ridge will be retrograding and allowing these polar lobes to come down over the Gulf of Alaska and keep our weather pretty active into late March. We'll have to see how that works out. But again, a lot of time to look at that. Here would be the surface map of that. There's the weak troughing, Arctic high. It's going to sag down and bring us our chilly air here. And then it spawns this pretty good agreement with the GFS on spawning a pretty powerful storm system up the East Coast as this Arctic air mass takes up residence over the USA all the way out through the Gulf of Mexico. And then you can see the system moving through Saturday. The kind of late breaking wave shows up here too on the European. So similar to the GFS. So this is something to watch. This storm system, I've seen these produce some pretty dramatic winds through western Washington, British Columbia, and western Oregon. The way these systems develop, models tend to underdo just how strong these low pressures or how deep these lows can get quickly. So it's always a late breaking wave inside of 140 degrees longitude. And so this is something worth watching. Models are showing it. I'll be tuned into this one coming up for Saturday. That system moves through it. Another deep low really plows into southeast Alaska, powerful frontal system over the Pacific Northwest. Another system into British Columbia follows that, and yet another one on the heels of that one. But we start getting out into fantasy land here as that big high would retrograde and allow for some really cold air to spill out over the Pacific and maybe spawn some more systems. But again, fantasy land. And now here we're looking currently, let's move into the future here. I wanted to show you guys the temperatures across the country. This is 2 meters centigrade. And so you can see this white line here with the blue is kind of showing the freezing boundary here. And let's back up here so we can show that we do get a little bit chilly. You see that cold air kind of spill out, gently leaks out into western Washington and portions of western Oregon. But eastern portions get pretty cold. You can see Montana is really in the icebox here by Wednesday morning. But not a big Arctic outbreak, but Thursday morning you can see there the freezing level gets out pretty much to the coastline there. So some chilly air does get out over the western portions, but it is fairly brief. And then these systems are going to quickly bring much warmer air in here as we go on into Saturday with that system that seems to be a late breaker close to the coastline. And we looked at this already. This is just a surface map of the European. And checking out Seattle-Tacoma, this is the offshore wind that's going to come through on Wednesday morning here. Just a little bit breezy out of the north, not a big deal. But then you can see there's a smattering of some higher winds in here, 49, some 40s, 50 there. And so this is showing that windstorm potential coming in for the Saturday night on into Sunday. But this is probably going to change a lot. Those systems are going to be very fickle in the models coming up in the next few days. It's probably going to change back and forth a few times on the strength of the low and the track exactly. And the track is everything based on where you are. If you are, right on the south side of that tight gradient, low pressure moving in, you're going to get walloped. And if this low comes in much weaker or south of you or much further north, then your area is going to be spared those stronger winds. And here we're showing just the very light precipitation amounts moving through on Tuesday evening with this system. Generally, maybe 1/10 of an inch across Seattle, not very wet at all. But then you'll see that pattern change come through here as that system comes through Saturday night, and it looks like we turn to a much wetter period. There's going to be intermixed dry periods within this too. You'll get a frontal system, then you might even get a sunny day the next day, and then the next system will be on its heels. The high clouds will be rolling in, and then you'll get rain again, and then probably a break. So you get these transient ridges that do tend to give us pretty decent weather for a day or so in between these storm systems as they move in at this time of year. And the sun is starting to become a bit stronger. The days are getting longer. So you can get some pretty nice weather in between these storm systems as they move through. But you can see some of these systems are pretty wet. The control has an inch there by next Tuesday morning. And then you can see the variability as these systems pass through the area going on into next week. Here is Portland. You can see Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, pretty chilly morning lows, Wednesday morning also. And then you'll see this is when that warmer, mild Pacific air starts to roll into the area as these systems kind of start bringing more typical weather for the Pacific Northwest. Here's Portland. Pretty good agreement as far as with Seattle as far as the system coming through. But this one looks a little bit wetter for Portland than it does Seattle. There's probably going to be some rain shadowing effect as this system rolls through for Seattle. And the coastal range in Oregon does not block as much precipitation. It's not the rain shadow maker that the Olympics are for Seattle. But then you'll see it turns wetter when the Pacific systems start to take aim back to the northwest. So yeah, enjoy today. You've got a little bit of sunshine going on. We're going to get some precip tomorrow. It'll turn chillier Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning, and then we'll start to watch those Pacific storms, and we'll try to get some model agreement on the tracks and the strength of these systems coming up. They can change pretty drastically, so stay tuned. And if I don't have a video out tomorrow, which I may not do one tomorrow, I will have one out the next day for sure, and we'll take a detailed look on into the extended and what's coming up. So hope you guys are having a good day, and I'll talk to you guys later.